Thanks for watching our internet edition of Nightline. I'm Martin Bashir. It's a movement back to natural family planning. That is, no family planning, except a plan for lots of children. And it's a movement that believes it has the blessing of God on its side. ABC's John Berman reports from Tennessee tonight for a new installment of our series, Faith Matters.
Peyton.
Logan. Claire.
This isn't a sitcom.
David.
This is a movement.
Cole. Owen.
It's 9 a.m. and for the Carpenter family outside Nashville, every meal is a major operation.
I advise against sitting on the stovetop.
Parents Ken and Devin have 8 children, ages 1 to 15. But this isn't simply about having a big family. As we said, this is a movement. The Carpenters are part of what is called the Quiverful movement. The name comes from the Bible, Psalm 127 and 128.
Have you children heard this before? Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them.
Quiverful followers believe that all forms of contraception, all forms of birth control, and any form of family planning goes against God's plan.
It's a mindset that says we'll take as many children happily as God chooses to bless us with.
Is it about having as many kids as you possibly can?
Well, it's certainly not a contest, you know. It's about for us, it's about having as many as the Lord gives us.
Quiverful is a largely American phenomenon, beginning with the release of the book A Full Quiver in 1989. There is no official organization, but in 1995, the website Quiverful.com went online with just 12 subscribers. Now there are more than 2,600.
But the name of the wicked will rot.
There are probably several thousand Quiverful believers all over the U.S. right now, and their numbers are growing. Devin is a solid believer, even on this day when she happened to have a terrible toothache.
This you think is normal?
I think it should be. I believe that this is how it was and, how God intended it to be.
It can't be easy on your body to keep having children. Are you concerned about your health at all?
No, God designed us to have children, and thankfully we do have good doctors out there for things that come up.
There is a grandmother to this movement. It's Nancy Campbell. Her magazine has been advocating this lifestyle for decades.
What's wrong with family planning, birth control, natural birth control?
When we really stop and think about it, it's not natural because we have to go against the way that God designed our bodies. He designed them to be fruitful. So if a couple don't want to have the children, they have to do something. They've got to do something to their body so it doesn't work the way God planned it.
You can just not have sex.
Well, that's true, but what married couple is going to do that?
What about abstinence or just taking a break?
I like that idea the least of all you've mentioned. I'm not an advocate of that.
You're asking me, is this movement fair to women? And I'd say it depends on the woman.
Dan Scott is the pastor at a local church. To his mainstream Christian sensibilities, the Quiverful movement seems like American excess.
Sometimes we're doing things God never asked of us. And I would say to a person that God hasn't asked us to do that. He blesses us if we have children. Children are the inheritance of the Lord. Children are at the center of our lives. But God has not asked us to keep having children in a world of limited resources and overpopulated world.
Having 8 kids, and counting, does put a strain on the family budget and infrastructure. The Carpenters are building an addition right now. Ken has a good business. He produces videos for some of Nashville's biggest names. Still, there are obvious questions about the future.
There are people who think that the kids are deprived as they get older. Can you send 8, 10 kids to college?
Funny you should ask. For us, we are pursuing and considering alternatives to the typical, junior turns 18, send him off to college path that most Americans follow.
When these guys are 18, if any one of them says, hey, I want to go to college, is it their decision?
If they're in a profession, if God calls them to a profession that requires a degree, by all means, we'll facilitate that.
This is Rod.
I'd rather my sons wake up 21, 22 years old with money in their pocket, ready to buy a home, and take on a family.
You said your sons. What about, do you want something different for your daughters?
In no way will we hastily and readily and quickly send our daughters off to State U college campus.
What about a profession? You said if your sons want to be doctors or lawyers, you would help facilitate that. What if your daughters want to be doctors or lawyers?
I don't have all the answers on that, John, but I do know this. I think there's incredible nobility. I think a woman's highest calling is motherhood. And that's a countercultural notion today. But we want to do everything we can in our home to ready our daughters to be moms who are pouring into the lives of their children.
And now more from John Berman on the Quiverful movement.
Okay. Come on, Miss Claire.
In addition to having many children, there is something else at the center of the Quiverful movement. It is very, very clear what Ken Carpenter thinks the role of a father should be. You can see it in the homeschooling. You can see it while they're playing in the backyard. Ken is the undisputed leader of this family.
How does a father's role differ from a mother's role?
I think a dad ought to be the primary instiller of wisdom and ought to be teaching his sons leadership.
What's your role in this family?
Hopefully to be nurturing and loving and submissive to my husband.
What does that mean?
It's not, it's so many ladies today want to make that so negative and oppressive, and it's really wonderful when the husband leads the family as he should.
Do you consider yourself the head of this household?
I know that notion is just going to rile a number of people, but yeah, absolutely I do consider myself the loving head of this family.
And we have mutual respect and we discuss things, and for the most part it's not he's not holding it over our head by any means. He's very loving, and
that's the biblical model of fatherhood.
But he makes, the final decisions come down with Dad.
But the buck stops here. You're in charge.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The Carpenters both say this is the life they want to lead and want their kids to lead, which means countless more diapers and countless more chaotic mealtimes. If there is one thing this life guarantees, it's non-stop motion.
Do you want to have more kids still?
Yes, John, even with that 3-year-old crying off camera there, knowing he has a need that needs met, that I will be attending to here momentarily, absolutely. Should the Lord bless us with more, I would be thrilled.
I'm John Berman for Nightline in Nashville.
The Quiverful movement. And now a quick look ahead to tonight's television edition of Nightline. Mr. Chairman, Nightline's John Donvan spends the day with the legendary Harlem Congressman Charles Rangel, who's assuming one of the most powerful jobs in Congress, chairman of the Money Dispensing Ways and Means Committee.
I have no complaints now.
But are you
about the good old days? Not one complaint.
Were the good old days good?
You remember what's good,
yeah.
And you forget the embarrassment, the heartbreak, and the things that took place. I don't regret any of it. I survived it. I survived it.
That's tonight. But that's today's internet edition of Nightline. Thank you for downloading us. I'm Martin Bashir. For Terry Moran, Cynthia McFadden, and all of us at ABC News, enjoy the rest of your day.
The president was hit. He is in stable condition.
It is the worst disaster in the history of the American space program.
I've never seen a royal wedding like this.
O.J. Simpson wanted on 2 counts of murder.
Relive the most dramatic days in history with ABC News. Download The Day It Happened today at iTunes.